Our lives are laid out on a road of bumps, turns, struggles, and more. How do we respond? How do we endure adversity for learning and growth? I'm Aubrey Johnson, and we'll explore these questions and more on the road to rediscovery. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another great episode of The Road to Rediscovery. I'm your host, Aubrey Johnson. The Road to Rediscovery is about reflecting on life lessons to learn and grow from them, and of course, pay it forward and uplift others who are struggling through dark times. My special guest is a West Point graduate with an MBA from Columbia, and he has served in Iraq, earning the Bronze Star, among many other distinctions. After his service, he goes into the fast-paced, high-stress world of corporate America, all the while quietly battling PTSD, depression, anxiety for over 2 decades. Today, he's a speaker and the author of West Point to Wall Street, My Journey to Mental Wellness. Get ready for a conversation of learning, transparency, and insight. And let's welcome Mr. Omar Ritter to the show. Omar, welcome to the show. It is so great to have you here.
Hey, Aubrey. Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to be here today and have a conversation with you.
Oh, likewise. We are excited. We reciprocate. Just as excited to have you here. Can't wait to unpack some incredible insights and just share from a transparent standpoint, you know, where you are coming from in your journey for the listeners' benefit. So, Omar, let's go ahead and unpack this. I believe over the years, more awareness, in my opinion, has been brought to the forefront over the years about our military veterans with PTSD, depression, anxiety, and so forth. There's even organizations that that helps veterans come together and everything. And there could always be more. Being a military brat myself, I feel there can always be more. But I wanted to, if you could, share with the listeners by walking us through your thinking, your rationale when you made the decision to transition from the military to corporate America. And here's what I mean, okay? Basically, 2 questions. Number one, were you aware of the pressure and stress that corporate America brings?
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, were you aware of the mental conditions that you were encountering as you were, leaving the military, that you were struggling with?
So my journey was definitely not planned, and so the way I'll frame it as, Aubrey, is that I had no plans ever to get out of the military after doing my 6 years. As you said, I went to West Point, so I wanted to be 25-year general. However, when I was a captain in the military, I went in for a physical and I had lost my voice and I started getting very bad headaches.
Mm-hmm.
And after me advocating for myself with the doctor over and over, we discovered that I had a brain tumor.
Oh, my.
And so I had to have emergency brain surgery. It took 18 hours. They removed the brain tumor, but I was no longer fit for active duty. And so I was forced to transition out. Going back to the other question, was I aware of my mental illness issues? I was somewhat aware of that because I had come back from Iraq. I had settled back into society.
Right.
But I was starting to self-medicate, drink heavily, stay out all night,
Yeah.
etc. But once I had that brain surgery, then all my thoughts about my mental health went on. I got to get healthy from this brain surgery, and I got to figure out what the heck I'm going to do as I recover.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine this, Aubrey, I'm in the hospital, recovering from brain surgery. I had spent a few months in the hospital. I had to learn how to walk again, how to run again. Also, had to learn how to I had another surgery on my throat. So really, learn how to talk again. I'm deaf in one ear. Half my face was paralyzed. And I'm thinking about early military retirement. What am I going to do for my next career? So while I was in the hospital, I got a hold of a Newsweek article. And that's really where I discovered business school, MBAs, and what you could make if you went and got one of these really fancy MBAs. And so I started studying for the GMAT as I was recovering. And so I actually blocked out everything else that was going on to study for that GMAT, right? So I'll pause there.
Nice, nice. No, very nice. Um, so you had somewhat awareness of where you were,
Hmm.
what you were struggling and going through, and wow, this does not sound like it was planned by any means, Omar.
No.
I mean, my goodness. I mean, just losing your voice and having it turn out to be a brain tumor, and having to relearn. I mean that's
Right.
a journey in and of itself that that requires resilience. But at the same time, I mean, it's so easy for someone to just throw up their hands and say, "Well, what else can happen?" And thankfully, what you were looking up, you were able to redirect yourself, I guess, from the self medication to having a target, having a
That's
site.
right. I mean, I can almost say that having a brain tumor may have actually saved my life. As weird as that may sound.
Yeah, there's some irony in there,
Right.
and some parts of life and how the universe works may have a silly sense of humor in how some of the irony plays out in our lives, and things that happen that we have no clue 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, 10 years prior to it happening, but it does, and we don't know where it all makes sense until maybe years later. So um, this is very, very clarifying, Omar. I want to thank you for sharing that. Now, I'd like for us to talk about stigma. All right.
Hmm.
Stigma can be really an overbearing force, and in thinking about what you've gone through, I almost feel like there's you may have encountered multiple stigmas, not just one. And I'm thinking that um, when it comes to a tough military man who's had a career in the military, there's a stigma in terms of, well, things like stress shouldn't bother you, things like
Right.
anxiety or depression shouldn't bother you, right? And then I guess there's the stigma of the overachiever. A lot of people tend to think, and I think this is a misconception, but a lot of people tend to think that overachievers are also privileged, you know, where they shouldn't complain about whatever, however they're feeling, or they're
Right.
emotionally distraught or going through trauma and this sort of thing, and so these are stigmas that can put a lot of societal pressure on the person that is going through it. And I wanted to see if you can share for the listeners maybe one or two examples of a stigma that has caused you to have limiting beliefs, and how did you overcome and set that stigma aside?
Yeah. So one of the biggest stigmas for me is, you came back from Iraq. You were a combat arms officer over there, and it's not quite possible for you to have something wrong with you.
Hmm.
And because you're talking to me like a regular person, like you've done an excellent job commanding your troops. You made it so folks got injured, but nobody actually got killed in my unit
Hmm.
over there. We were light scouts. We were in numerous firefights, and so I was expected just to continue to drive on,
Right.
right? And so even if I went to the hospital and said something was wrong with me, it was like, oh well, this lower thing might be wrong with you, but it certainly can't be, this PTSD thing. Maybe you just need some rest, right? And so
Yeah.
constantly, battling and really having to advocate for yourself, right? That gets a bit tiring,
Right.
first and foremost. But I will tell you, Aubrey, like even we go back to 2006, as I was out processing from the army, with my brain tumor for my brain surgery. my medical records clearly said that this guy had been in multiple combat iterations,
Hmm.
you know. And as I was out processing from the military, nobody ever thought to say, "Hey, man, do you have PTSD?" Right? Nobody ever asked me
Wow.
that question as I was out processing. And then me, being that I didn't want to overcomplicate like my out processing from the military because I was ready to go when
Yeah.
they told me I could leave
Yeah.
and start this new thing at Columbia. I was like, man, I don't even want to get into that. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
want to get into those benefits for that. I
Mhm.
don't even want to have those counseling sessions. So,
Yeah.
there was the external part of the problem, but then there was also me being part of my own problem,
Hmm.
trying to be that overachiever and move on to the next thing,
Hmm.
as opposed to tackling what was right in front of me.
Got you. Got you. So overachievers and people who are of a position of prominence, responsibility,
Hmm.
if not a responsibility, excuse me, or a leader of a process, a leader of a team, um, in a group. So these types of people um, uh, tend to take a lot of responsibility. They may have some. They think on a different level, in my mind, right? And so, while some things can be a blessing and attributes can get you to a certain point, these same attributes can be a detriment in when it comes to, say, the after effects. So, I wanted to
Right.
know, like, for instance, as a person in a leadership position of prominence, an overachiever, okay, you have a responsibility to those who report directly to you. You have a responsibility to your duty, your orders that you're given.
That's right.
And so, there are things that could limit you, such as the brain tumor and, PTSD, even while you're serving, right? So I want to know, um, has what role has, if any, guilt and shame played into your journey, specifically in the military side? We'll touch on the corporate America here in a minute, but
Hmm.
on the military side, has guilt or shame played a role, and how were you able to combat those? With whatever tools or whatever you've had to develop or come up with to combat those,
Right.
because there could be some significant amount of either grief, not grief, shame or guilt if if an event that was unexpected kind of limits you from effectively leading, which was your role primarily.
Right. So I want to throw a third thing in there,
Yeah.
and this is very important,
Okay.
right? This is very important for somebody like me who didn't come from much, right?
Yeah.
Not only did I have the leadership in the military and corporate, I got the family leadership too. So the
Oh,
family is dependent on me.
yes. Yes.
Everybody's dependent on me. Like
Yes.
even right now, my brother lives in a house I own. My mom lives in a house I own.
Yeah.
I have a college savings plans
Hmm.
for my nephews.
Hmm.
So I'm also like the family leader. Everybody comes to me with their problems, and I need to help them solve
Yes.
those problems, right? And so, Aubrey, that was one of the reasons why I rushed into the business school thing because I was like, I don't have time to not make money, right?
Right. Right.
20 years ago, I had a lot of people depending on me, and I didn't have a lot of money. It took me 20 years
Hmm.
to get where I am now, right? So
Hmm.
that's another piece of the pie,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then when we go back and we talk about, from a military perspective, like you hit the nail spot on the head. When you are an officer, specifically a combat arms officer, when you're 25, 26 year old, you're an old man in that unit, and you're
That's
the
right.
number two guy
Yeah.
in that unit, right? People forget that our soldiers are, average age is like 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
And so here I am leading 18-year-olds to 25-year-olds predominantly.
Hmm.
And so not only am I the officer, I'm also the big brother. I'm also the father figure, the uncle, etc. I'm the one who makes sure they get paid, make sure their legal troubles are getting solved. They have finance issues, house issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to take care of that stuff
Hmm.
as well. And then if I do that right, when we get to the combat piece, I can rely on them to take care of me and do the necessary when I ask them to do it, right? And so from
Right.
that regard, you know, being a leader is very lonely, right? Being an officer
It
is
is.
very lonely,
Right.
especially, when either you're the commander or you're the executive officer. Because as the executive officer, I can't go crying to my commander. Dude, just he wants me to have his back and to keep things together for him. So he
That's right.
listens, right? I can't go crying to my soldiers
Yeah.
because I'm the guy, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it gets very lonely at the top, especially in these combat situations when you're so far forward, none of your peers
Yeah.
are around you. It's just you and your men.
Right.
And
Right.
so um, I would say like that. That is something that really, really wears on you, and so you have to push even things like fear, doubt, etc., to the back of your mind
Right.
because you got to go in front of those guys and you got to be like, this is an awesome mission. We can definitely 100% accomplish that.
Yeah.
Even if you're thinking, man, this mission is crazy as heck. How did I get so unlucky to get this
Right.
daggone mission, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so I found myself constantly like suppressing stuff, going off to a dark corner to cry about some dangerous mission I got, then coming back to my guys like, hey, man, this is a great mission. Let's go do it.
Yeah. 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 No, I could see that 100% because um, suppressing that, right, and putting that
Mhm.
aside because your guys depend on you, and you have your leader depending on you to carry through orders, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so putting that aside and having that moment, if you are alone and you have 5 minutes or whatever, to do that while it's all well and good, you wipe the tears, you wipe your nose, you stuff it
Right.
aside, and you go to your guys. uh, it it rears its head again at some point, which is the P in the post,
That's
right?
right. Hmm.
So if it doesn't happen because you suppress it, because you need to, in a matter of life and death and chain of command with your troops to carry the mission out. And so once the mission's carried out and you have quote unquote time to exhale, then I think in some way, shape, or form, it starts to kind of creep up, in different ways with different people. And like you said,
Hmm.
you've went the self medication route and so forth. But outside of the self medication, Omar, I wanted to know with overachievers, um, what are some of the other coping mechanisms that one could have, to put aside their mental struggles just for the purpose of sustaining the demands of their home life, their business, other responsibilities.
So for me, it was definitely lack of sleep or always being into something.
Yeah,
Right? Like I'm a CPA, I'm a CIPA, I'm an SPHR, I'm a
yeah,
Columbia MBA, I'm a
yeah.
CGMA, I'm in my dissertation for my doctorate right now.
Oh, wow.
I rose to the rank of SVP
Mhm,
at Wells Fargo. I worked at JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America,
mhm.
TIAA, Conduit. I was an M&A guy at Koch Industries, an M&A guy at Boston Scientific. So to cope, what I was actually doing is looking for reasons to always change my environment,
Yeah.
if not my city and my work situation, so that I could start everything off brand new.
You
And
want a
so,
constant change.
right. And if I got too comfortable, I wanted to change so I could go to that new role,
Mhm.
dig in, work 60, 70, 80, 100 hours a week. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to think about the other stuff. And when I was done working, I would go out at night. And so I would average, 4 hours of sleep a night, 5 hours,
Yeah.
sometimes no sleep on the weekends. Aubrey, I was even a party promoter. I was one of the biggest
You
party
were?
promoters. I was a big party promoter right here
Wow.
in Charlotte, right? So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking about I'm doing investment banking working 80 hours a week, and on the
Yeah.
weekend I'm party promoting.
Wow. My goodness,
And
man.
I didn't need the money. I was just doing it because I wanted to keep
Yeah.
myself in the mix and have people around all the time.
Yeah. 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 And all the while, you're not dealing with doing the work necessary to address depression, to address anxiety, to address PTSD, because you're
Always,
filling time in with change.
always an adventure, Aubrey. Let me tell you
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I've partied in Moscow, Russia, St. Petersburg, Russia,
Wow.
Cuba,
Yeah.
Berlin, like
Yeah.
you name the place. I was walking around Medellin, Colombia, drunk, just hanging out, like by my you name the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I was just gonna go there because it gave me something to look
Yeah.
forward to and do.
I see. I see. Wow, man. Well, with that, then I wanted to ask, uh, and with this question, man. At first, I was just gonna say, as you reflect on the military side of your journey, and then reflect on corporate America side of your journey, but I'm gonna say all the different things that you've done in your journey, from the party promotions, times when you were a CPA, where you are a CPA, and the different roles you've worked at Wells Fargo, TIAA, and all the
Mm-hmm.
other places, right? Um, Starting early in your journey with West Point and then the military, what um it's easy to have a role that you are prominent in, with a lot of responsibility, to define you.
Mm-hmm.
And between the military, West Point, corporate America, the different roles you've had, pursuing your MBA, pursuing your doctorate. I mean, in full reflection of all that, plus what you're currently going through, as the journey doesn't end, right?
Right, yeah.
So we're
And
on the
then
ground, it doesn't end. Um, what defines Omar Ritter?
so today, what defines me is really trying to be a great partner for my wife and a great dad for my daughter, right? So I
Mhm.
have the benefit of being an old dad. So I'm knocking on 50 and my daughter's 3.
Oh,
And so
wow,
I
really?
and
Okay.
so and so because of that, I get the opportunity to spend a lot of time with her because I'm an entrepreneur at this stage of my life and a part-time professor, and I'm not sure if I'm going to move further into academia. But this part of my life, I'm going to do what I want to do
Yeah.
to take care of my cockpit, what I call my brain. I'm going to protect my cockpit
Okay.
at all costs. And part of that is like not going back to a mega bank, right? Because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how much they're paying at this point. Like if I go back there, it's going to shorten my lifespan for sure, just because there's so much stress,
Yeah.
etc. And the things that I really like to do
Hmm.
is teach and coach, and I get a lot
Okay.
more teaching and coaching as an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, working with small businesses, doing fractional CFO work,
Yeah.
but also being able to be there for my daughter and the things that she's doing, right? She's doing swimming,
Yeah.
dance,
Yeah.
all those things, right? And so that's what I want to define me, as well as to a lesser extent, but still very important to me, is making this mental health discussion that we're having an everyday conversation. Why aren't we talking more,
Right.
about these things? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I've had friends that have been medical doctors that have led hospitals, friends that have been prominent business coaches.
Yeah.
I had one friend that ran the operations for Walmart. All 3 of these gentlemen committed suicide,
Oh my.
right?
Mm.
My gunner from Iraq had a murder suicide to his name, right? And so
Yeah.
I know that if it wasn't for, you know, a terrorist hijacking their cockpit, that these guys had no reason to take their own lives or lives of anybody else's, right? So
Right.
it was a glitch in the matrix. And one thing that you mentioned early on, Aubrey, and this is why I want to make this a conversation, because the way mental health disorders work is, and what we always say when somebody loses their life to suicide is, man, I just talked to that person. I wish I would have gotten in contact with them
Yeah.
more, blah, blah, blah. We all
Yeah.
say it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I've been there. I've been there too.
Mhm.
We got to get past that and get past to normalizing folks actually going to go get help. Because, I agree with you that there could be more things set up. But, however, here's a stat I want to give you. Veterans have a 58% higher chance to commit suicide than the general public, right?
Yeah.
Of those veterans that commit, suicide takes their lives, 61% of them have never even stepped foot into the VA, and the VA is free.
Yes,
And
it is.
so it's free, right? And
Yeah.
so what that tells me is it's not solely about having hotlines for people to call, hospitals for people to go to. It's about getting to the point where a person like me
Mhm.
realizes that it's okay if you raise your hand and go get that help, right?
Right.
Because the onus is always going to be on the person.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. It's always on the person.
That's right.
And I mean, you know, a few minutes ago, Omar, you were talking about processing out and what you were going through and processing out and the questions that you were being asked and everything. I find it hard to believe that during that process, when discharge, being honorably discharged, going through the paperwork, getting the DD 214 and all that, the Army or the Marines or Air Force, I mean, whatever branch, the government would at least disclose for awareness that Veterans Administration is available for free to you as a veteran. Is that not happening?
So here's the take. Now remember, I got out in 2006, right? So this is still the beginning of Iraq and Afghanistan. So this is a post Vietnam, army, right? And so we had done the Cold War thing, and like we had a little brush in the desert before, but nothing major, right? So this wasn't yet the normal. Like we still thought these wars were going to be over quick, fast, in a hurry, right?
Yeah.
And so when I was out processing for my brain tumor, so they gave me a disability rating, they processed me out.
Yeah.
I went in for my VA disability stuff, and we only focused on the brain tumor and the effects. And I actually felt like back then when they were out processing me, they were trying to give me the least amount possible, right? Because that was sort of the type of military that we were in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me tell you, I never thought about processing myself in the VA system for PTSD until 2023.
Really?
2023, 18 years later. And let me tell you how it happened. I had a 70% disability rating because of my tumor and some of the things that went with that.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting in the hospital just talking to the nurse. And the sister looked at me. She said, man, we were having a conversation. She said, man, so you're 70% rating? She's like, I find it hard to believe that you're only a 70% rated person, like, and that you have no PTSD on here, even though you went through life and death for a brain tumor. And I'm looking at some of the other stuff you got going on here, and it's not even marked. Like, you need to go talk to a VSO and like get your process done the right way, because it just wasn't done right.
Right.
And so I went back through the process. Man, when I went back to that process, I could have been 200% disabled rating, right? Because I had so much stuff that wasn't in the system.
Yeah. Yeah. My goodness. You know what? That was good advice given at the right time for you,
Excellent
man.
advice. And let me
Yeah,
tell you something. She had no reason to give me that advice
no
besides being like
reason.
a good person.
Right. What was her gain from it? Right. Yeah. No gain.
Just pro-
Just being a
being
good person
being
out of the
God's
kindness of her
child, man.
heart.
That was her game. Like just
Yeah.
being like, that
Yeah.
was it.
Man, shout out to that administrator, big
Yep.
time,
Mm-hmm.
because look, these are life changing conversations, life changing advice, right? That had no one given you that direction or guidance, you know, uh, there would be so much more left on the table that would be rightfully yours,
Right.
you know.
And, and
So
and
yeah,
and I was ashamed to go do it at first. But then after they
right,
started doing all my I didn't even have to file for PTSD really because I had these bad migraines from I have 18 hours of brain surgery, so I have these
yeah,
bad migraines.
yeah,
That wasn't on the list. My ear, I'm deaf in the ear. That wasn't on the list. And I'm
no.
like, who did your paperwork, man?
Yeah, yeah. No, no. And just a quick side story. I can all well to relate. Like I mentioned, I'm not a veteran, but I am a military brat. Both my parents served. And so my father's passed, but my mother back in 2022, we made the decision and to put her in I'm not going to say a nursing home, it's retirement living because
Retirement community, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She has her own independence. I mean, she'll be 80 in November. She can walk. She has her own car. She can drive. She's
Hmm.
retired. Okay, and so we had to really, really go through some hoops for her to get her full benefits. Okay, above and beyond what she receives from my father that he paid into for her
Right.
to receive after he passes from his pension for her to receive the benefit to live in this retirement community.
Hmm.
And we had to get a lawyer. We went back and forth with VA numerous times. They've come
Right.
back saying we're missing this, this, and this. She had tuberculosis at one point, and so she had to kind of explain that, and then
Right.
she had double knee replacement and this sort of thing and everything. So long and short, we jumped through some hoops. It took about a year and a half, and in the meantime, money coming out of our pocket to help sustain that living in that retirement community
Right.
until the benefits kicked in and it was approved, right? And then retroactive stuff. So anyhow, the whole long and short of that is, to your point, advice given, that's life changing, that you go back to and you see so much that was on the table that you were able to reclaim or claim,
Right.
even
Yeah.
though there may be some shame to it. There's no shame. There should be no shame because of the depths of serving your country. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell a veteran that as they're going through it, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I
Yeah.
have, classmates and soldiers that still refuse
Yeah.
to go in and get that stuff updated.
Wow, man, that's truly something. I want to thank you for sharing that, Omar. And now, if you don't mind, I'd love for us to kind of cut over to the to the corporate America piece.
Let's do it.
This is absolutely fascinating. Okay, and I mean the reason why I say that is because, and I want the listeners to understand this. All right, listen to Omar and I as we're having this conversation. Okay, this is a gentleman who served his country, who was in combat, who had a brain tumor. In spite of that brain tumor and having to relearn things, not only obtained his MBA, but he's been a certified public accountant. He's been pursuing his doctorate right now, and from an academic standpoint, leaps and bounds of what anyone would originally perceive as accomplishing after having a brain tumor. If he can do it, you can do it as
Right.
well. He has found ways and tools and tricks to overcome anxiety, overcome PTSD, overcome depression. Okay, so those of you who feel like you're at the end of the rope of your rope, you are not. You are not. It's very possible, and I want you to continue listening to this conversation as Omar shares his insights on other ways of how it's possible in his journey. So, Omar, on the corporate America side here, okay, I wanted to know if you noticed or had any type of overlaying, and what I mean by overlaying between the military and corporate is, you know, was there a way that you interacted with, your men, chain of command, in your experience in the military that kind of had an impact on how you interact with your colleagues in the corporate space?
Man, that was my biggest gift is,
Hmm.
having gone to West Point and
Hmm.
them teaching me to be a servant leader. Now, listen, everybody doesn't listen to that. But one of the biggest reasons why when you go to West Point and when you come in and you're a superstar coming out of high school, you go to West Point, they kick you back down to the bottom rung
Hmm. Hmm.
because they want to teach you humility, right?
Yes.
And so one of the things that comes with being humility is that when you get to that next rung, you got to remember this person is being kicked down to humility, and now I got to take this person in my new leadership role because at West Point you lead nobody, then you get to lead one person, and then by the time you're a junior you get to lead up to 30, 40 people,
Mm.
and then by the time you're a senior you could be leading thousands of people, right? And
Wow.
so they're giving you a leadership journey while in school.
Yeah.
And so what I really took from being at the academy and going into my first role as an officer was being a servant leader. And what that means to me is the troops eat first.
Right.
I got to make sure, as I told you earlier, that my troops, their finances are straight. Things are going right on the home front.
Yeah.
They have a place to eat, a place to live, et
Yeah.
cetera, a place to sleep, and their families, so they can do the job that I need them to do when we need to go do it.
Right.
No
Right.
different than corporate America being a servant leader. And so I'll give you an example. I came to this new team at Wells Fargo. And
Yeah.
the very first thing I did was I looked at what my team was being paid.
Hmm.
And I noticed that there were folks on my team that were grossly being underpaid
Mm.
for being at a major U.S. bank.
Yeah.
And so they didn't have to ask me to do this, but I made a 10-page PowerPoint presentation and took it through the system of why these people were underpaid
Right.
and what could happen if these folks were to go to the EEOC or something else
Yeah.
instead of they were being underpaid because they were women or they were minorities or
Right. Right.
or they were LGBTQIA,
Right.
whatever, right? Because I had a very diverse team.
Hmm.
And so HR looked at it, they ran it back, and all these people got, decent raises to get them to the point where they should have been. And see, they were very grateful for that. There was really no skin off the bank's back
Right.
to spread 100K across my whole team, right? And
Yeah.
so that's one of the ways that I was a servant leader, and this worked for me very well.
Hmm.
I think it starts to work a little bit less once you get into the senior management levels.
Yeah.
Because once you get into the senior levels, it's less about the people. It's supposed to be more about the organization.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right.
So I can't really operate in that type of world, right? It doesn't really work for who I am, which is why I'm no longer in that world, right? Because I
Right.
feel
Right.
like if I'm getting paid, $250,000 a year, $500,000 a year, surely I can still take care of my people. But
Yeah.
you get to that point where it becomes Game of Thrones, and
Right.
then for Omar's my competition. For me to excel, I got to eliminate this guy, especially since his people like him.
Yeah.
I need to get the bosses to like me more than they like him, and then eventually I'll just take over his team and push him out, right? So
Yeah. Where's the loyalty? Yeah.
so that's that's what happens at the senior levels, right? I
Right.
mean, I've been a CFO of a major organization before,
Yeah.
and has the senior leaders turn over, the very first people to turn over are folks like the CFO, the
Yeah.
COO, et cetera. And you just got to be ready for that game. But I will tell you, that game takes a mental toll when you have empathy and you care about your team. It's even worse,
Oh,
right?
it's got to be worse.
It's it's
Very
it's worse
complicated.
than it could be worse than combat,
Yeah.
because you're constantly thinking about, man, what can I do? How can I position my team? How can I, help this person keep their job? They're a single mom.
Right.
And so, you're just constantly trying to position your team, but keep your bosses happy and not limit yourself, as far as you may want to go in the organization.
Once again, leadership is very lonely.
Yeah, it's lonely, man.
Yeah, yeah, no, very lonely. One of the things you mentioned that resonates with me, and I know in maybe buzzword. I mean, disruptor, I guess, is a buzzword, but we're very genuine and authentic when you explain this, when you express this, and gave an example. It's servant leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Servant leadership. It's not pointing the finger and giving orders, do this, do this, do this, do this, and watch over them to make sure they do it. Okay. It's, I'm your leader. How can I serve you so that you are in the best, highest, most optimal capacity to
Right.
perform?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to support your performance. What can I do to do that? And with the example that you mentioned in taking on a new team with the salaries, having a diverse team, going to HR, okay, it wasn't even asked or solicited of you to do it, but as a leader, you felt this was something that you must do as
Right.
as an act of service for your team, and you did it. But another thing you mentioned, and I believe you said this about your soldiers, not just being a servant leader, but being a 360 leader.
That's
Okay.
right.
You wanted them to be present. In order for them to be present, they must be good financially, emotionally, with their family, and in any other facet of themselves to be present to give you or to work as a team
Mm-hmm.
most optimal level of performance. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate. Like I say, I've been fortunate. Like, for all the things that have gone against me,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of things that have gone for me.
Yes.
And one of the things that very early on, as a second lieutenant, 3 months into my military career, I had an NCO, Sergeant Nadu, and Child Protective Services wanted to take his kid,
Yeah.
and I was part of the plan, so they wouldn't take his kid. So if you can imagine a 22-year-old second lieutenant going to a 35-year-old man's house every night to make sure the kids were fed, the house was clean, the kids
Wow.
were put to bed,
Yeah.
etc., and telling him and his wife, okay, it's up to my standard. And here I am living in an apartment doing like bachelor life stuff, right?
Oh
Fresh out of
yeah.
college.
Well, yeah, because of your age and where you are in life. I mean, my goodness, that takes some degree of stepping outside of yourself in who you are to following the orders and knowing what standards must be met and what you expect of that 35-year-old and his wife.
I mean, exactly. And it was like the battalion commander personally told me, you will do this every day, Lieutenant. I'm counting on you.
That's a tremendous amount of leadership, and not just based on the level of responsibility, but of of making sure things are met to standard that weren't quite standard in the stage of your life.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's something. Um, Wanted to also ask you when it comes to expectations, do you feel or did you find or do you think that there were expectations of you in the corporate space that were maybe different from your corporate colleagues because of your military background?
Yes. I would say 100%.
Gotcha.
And it
Gotcha.
really played out later in my career, because I think at the beginning of my career, being a mergers and acquisition guy, a finance guy,
Yeah.
people kind of tell you what they want you to do and what they want you to produce, and it's your job to produce that.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
as you get to a more senior level and you start having teams of 10, 15 people, then it's more like, hey, wait a minute, we need to have a discussion about what you want me and my team to do and what role you want me to play
Yeah.
in this organization.
Yeah.
And so people had the expectation because I was an Army guy 15 years ago that I'm just going to follow any random order that you
Right.
give me. And
like
it's like,
like when you were
no,
private. Right.
it's
Yeah.
like, bro, I'm not following every order you
No.
give me. We need, like, if you want me to leave, for example, if you want me to leave New York City and move to Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah.
we got to have a conversation about, what's in it for me, but
Right.
also, can I move to Dallas? Can I, is there other places that I can go to?
There you
Because
go.
I'm doing a great job, but just because you're the new boss and you sit in Columbus
Yeah.
and you want somebody on your team who probably isn't me that sits outside your door,
Yeah.
now you want to change my role to a Columbus role, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have an issue with that, so I'm not going to be a good soldier
Yeah.
and follow that order. We need to really sort this out and have more conversations than just me helping you out. Like, what are you going to do for me? What's in it for me?
Right. Yeah. In your tenure and as a leader, you've learned to challenge.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is very, very important, you know. So, Omar, all of these anecdotes that you and I talked about, okay, shame, guilt, anxiety, depression, self-medicating. We talked about just different different levels of responsibility, being present for your team,
Mm-hmm.
and having and being the servant leader for your teams in both capacities, right? Military and corporate America. All of these anecdotes, you, from what I understand, I'm going to pick up a copy of this book. I guarantee it. You so gracefully chronicle in your journey in your book, as well as tools and tips and tricks for overcoming these types of struggles.
Right.
Is that right?
Yep. I do.
Yeah, fantastic. So, with knowing, okay, that people who struggle from mental health are from all walks of life, right? Whether they're overachievers or underachievers or wherever they come from, um, in one sentence, can you kind of bake it all down to a main message that you want the listeners to get from your book?
My main message is please do not suffer in silence.
100%.
Period.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what? In my, I'm so glad you said that, because in my mind, okay, that is an over encompassing, encapsulating message that supports just about everything you mentioned that we need to talk about. We need to bring this to the forefront, have
Mm-hmm.
it as a normal level type of conversation, topic of conversation in these different environments, whether it's corporate, military, or what have you. And there, there are men who committed suicide from suffering in silence,
That's right.
and had they brought it up or had someone step forward and say, "Hey, man, you want to talk?" Maybe a life could have been saved. So do not suffer in silence. Thank you for sharing that message, Omar. That is loud and clear, 100%. I may make that a quote in the show notes. Speaking of show notes, how can the listeners connect with you, learn about, just the great work you're doing, and follow you and pick up a copy of your book?
Yeah. So, you can pick up a copy of my book, West Point to Wall Street, My Journey to Mental Wellness, on Amazon.com. You
Mhm.
can also find me, Omar Ritter, at Omar Ritter, just my name,
Mhm.
OmarRitter.com. You can, from OmarRitter.com, you can order my book, book me for speaking engagements, look at some of the fractional CFO services that I provide. Also, my Instagram, Facebook, all of my socials are right there on Omar Ritter .com. So I made it easy for everybody to be able to find me and connect with me.
Oh, fantastic. We're going to put omarritter.com on the episode show notes, as well as the link to get your book. And once they get to your website, they'll see where they can connect with you via social.
That's right. All my socials are on there. The Facebook
Okay.
sign, like the Facebook sign, the Instagram looks like you just click it, and we're connected.
Oh, fantastic. Omar, I'm going to have all that in the episode show notes. The listeners are going to click it. They're going to connect with you. They're going to pick up a copy of your book while listening to this wonderful, wonderful conversation. This has been such a delight. Omar Ritter, sir, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And I am very, very grateful to have had you on the show to share these amazing insights and points of inspiration for the listeners. Those who are going through struggles, they can definitely transform out of it. Thanks so much once again, Omar.
And lemons in the lemonade, folks.
That's right, 100%. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in and listening. And hey, look, in our daily struggles and adversities, we're never alone. And hope is always around the corner. I humbly ask that you please share this show with someone you know, someone you love, who needs motivation, inspiration, and support. When it all comes down to it, we're all just roadies on this journey of life.
Mm-hmm.
But it sure feels good having you on the road with me. Thanks again for listening. We'll chat again soon. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of The Road to Rediscovery. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email at roadtorediscoverypodcast@gmail.com and leave us any questions or comments you may have.